What up, fighters and fight fans? It's Salvador bringing you another Sweet Science boxing tutorial today. This one's going to be on changing levels. So this past, actually no, it was 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. Actually no, it was last week. And Kovalev-Ward happened. Obviously Ward won a really close decision. I think everyone's kind of under agreement that that one could have gone either way. Obviously Ward being, you know, the hometown guy, you know, I think that they gave him a nod to a degree with that. But obviously everyone's excited for the rematch, so I want to see that one coming. Ward is great at changing levels. It's actually a really good, he sets up his power jab really well with it. I mean, you saw it in the clip previous, and I'll be showing you, you know, the basics on how he does that. A couple of other fighters you saw as well. Vasyl Lomachenko, he's actually got a fight coming up this coming weekend against Nicholas Walters. By far my favorite, the fight I've been looking forward to this entire year. And then obviously Canelo, you saw in there too. And I chose those three fighters because they use changing the level changes in different ways. And I kind of wanted to go over those three different ways with you and kind of show you a way to implement that into your style. Okay. So I first want to start off with talking about how Vasyl Lomachenko uses it. He uses it in a pretty subtle way with a feint to first of all gauge his opponent's response, first of all, and then based on how they respond, or at least you saw in that clip, you know, he capitalized on it, right? So what he did was, you know, he had the guy squared up, and he feinted to the body. He lowered levels and feinted to the body. And he saw that his opponent, Martinez, responded pretty amateurish, which, you know, he put his hands out kind of like this, you know, down to block the low blow. So he feinted, and he saw how he reacted. And then what he did was he changed levels again. He dropped like he was going to go to the body, and then he came over the top, right? So he came in here, he feinted, saw how he reacted, and then he came over, and you know, he just clobbered him. And he was actually able to successfully do that twice, right? So he used the changing of levels and the feint to first, you know, draw his opponent's defense. So his opponent thought the next time he comes around, he's going to be going to the body again, and this time he changed levels, he brought it low, you know, same way he did when he feinted, except this time he came up top, and then he, you know, seconds later, he did the same thing again. Boom. See, Andre Ward uses his a little bit differently. You know, he has a very old school boxing stance, and a lot of that has to do with he kind of has this shoulder cocked with his stance, right, when he's boxing, and that actually plays in a big part to how he's able to get off that power jab. So what happens with him is, you know, he's a good distance away from them. He drops levels, but when he does that, what people don't realize is that because he's normally standing with that shoulder somewhat cocked, when he drops levels, he cocks it almost even more, right? So he chambers this shoulder with the arm back here, and it's so subtle that you don't really even notice it. But because he's got this chambered right here, he's able to get that left hand off a lot harder than if it was just a conventional jab, right? So obviously, you can have a stiff jab coming from here, but if you're loading up from here, suddenly there's a lot more power, right? So what he does is he'll come here, right? He's standing normal. He drops levels, chambers this arm, and he's able to come over the top with the same speed that a jab has, but with a lot more power. So again, he comes here, he's standing, lowers, and he chambers. Obviously chambers that shoulder. He's able to come right over the top a lot harder. And you can see, just by the way the bag moved, because I have that shoulder chambered, I'm able to generate a lot more power into that jab. All right. So that's how he does that. And usually you can even be a good distance away from it and still set that up. So he drops, and then a lot of times he'll lunge forward by pushing off of his back leg, and then he'll come over the top. And it's a really solid, snappy hit. Snaps people's head back a lot. And then, finally, I want to talk to you guys about Canelo. Canelo uses changing levels in a much more conventional way because he changes levels, but a lot of it has to do with changing his punching levels, so to speak. He goes top to bottom and bottom to top better than a lot of fighters do, and that opens up a lot of opportunities for him. So in the clip that you saw with him against Miguel Cotto, you know, he'll lead with like this really half-assed body shot, right? It's not meant to have a lot of force behind it. It's just meant to bring the hands down, right? So he'll throw that out there to drop the opponent's hand, and he's so good at this. He drops the hands, they drop the hands to go there, and he comes right over the top with the right hand, right? So he's just here, and it's really quick, right? He lowers and drops that as almost like a feint. He still throws it out there, but the real punch that's coming behind it is the right hand. That's the one that he's really trying to land. He actually put Khan to sleep the same way, except on that one, he feinted to the body, Khan dropped his hands, and then he just, you know, killed him over the top of the right hand. So he dropped levels, and then came over the top, right? And again, he's really good at that. He's good at changing that level to bring their hands down, and that's the most important thing about Canelo's game, is that he sets up his body shots a lot of times. He'll do an uppercut and then body shot. So when he brings the uppercut, their guard comes up and they're exposing their body. And then he'll go the exact opposite way, where he'll feint to the body and hit the top. So he's all about changing the opponent's guard, right? So if he's trying to attack the body, he'll bring the guard up first and then attack the body. And if he wants to go up top, he'll bring the guard down and then attack the top. I mean, he's got a very good, he's very good at changing up his punches, very creative with it, you know, not very one-dimensional with his combinations, which makes him such a deadly, combination puncher. So there's 3 different ways to change levels. Obviously, getting low, feinting to kind of see how your opponent reacts, and then responding, you know, in kind. Like Ward does with his left hand, lowers, chambers, and steps through, you know. So he'll lower, chamber, steps through with a power jab. And then Canelo, always being mindful of, you know, changing the opponent's guard, bringing their hands up to attack the body, and bringing them down to attack the top. In those ways, by changing level of those 3 different ways, you'll really add a lot of variation to the ways in which you can attack an opponent. And it all has to do with being able to lower your stance and lower your body, and being able to see how they react to that. And you know, it'll add a lot of versatility to your game. So if you guys have any other questions about this tutorial, feel free to comment below, and I'll see you guys next time.